I'm Vasel here, and welcome to the AlphaBest series of lists where I take each letter of the alphabet and talk about my 10 favorite games from that letter. Now today's letter is T, which stands for Tom, but T is a great letter regardless of that. There's a lot of games that are on these lists, and some people said, would these top 10 from each letter and number be your top 270? Well, of course not. That's very obviously not the case. But with T's, it could work because all the ones in T have a good chance at making my top 100 easily. That's how much great these games are. I had some games that were amazing, like Tales of Arabian Nights and Take It to the Limit and Trum Fabric, which missed this. So what made it? Number 10 is Thebes. Thebes. Now, I like games that take the mechanisms and the theme and put them together, and Thebes is one of the strongest ones to do that. It's about archaeology, and in this game there are actually different bags full of tiles with cool artifacts and garbage in them, and you will reach in and pull those out. And the more research you do, the more tiles you pull out, giving you a better chance at finding them. There's a good chunk of randomness in the game, but it's offset, and yet the theme is so strong and the game is fun, uses a cool time mechanism that I just love playing it. There's also a card game version of it, which I think is almost as good, although it does miss the cool bags, but works pretty much the same way. So that's Thebes. Number 9 is the opposite of this in a sense. Very abstracted game, and that's Through the Desert. Through the Desert, I have to give a lot of props to a game called Go, right? Go is an amazing game. But I just don't play it very often because it makes my brain melt, and I'm not really a big fan of it. I'm impressed by it, but Through the Desert is where I want to play. It has some similarities to Go. All you're doing in this game is putting 2 camels on the board, but you're putting them in rows and trying to connect to things and get points and connect to oases and section off parts of the board. Very solid, very highly strategic, has some cool little candy-looking camels. Just a great game overall. Number 8 is Thunder Alley. I like racing games. Thunder Alley is NASCAR. It doesn't say that anywhere in the game, but it is. And you're racing around the board, but you have multiple cars, something I enjoy because one of my cars might not be doing so well, but you're using your cars to help each other in a drafting way as you're trying to draft with all the other cars. It's a pretty solid game. There's a little bit of luck in the game, but it's really strategic and tactical as you move these cars around. I really enjoy this one. That's Thunder Alley. Number 7 is Through the Ages. Through the Ages is a civilization game which feels more like Civilization 3 and 4, the computer games, than any other game I know. It's best with 2 or 3, and the new reprint that just came out in 2015 really takes the cake. There's some great components, but it's just solid and just, what am I going to do next? I'm going to keep my people happy, make sure I have enough food, make sure I have enough resources. What wonders of the world am I going to build? A really involving, entertaining, and yet just a deeply satisfying game that is Through the Ages. Number 6 is the biggest game on my list for sure, and that's Twilight Imperium 3. Of course, I'm including both expansions in with that. Twilight Imperium takes the whole space on a board, Space Empires. It's a 4X game, expand, explore, exterminate, and extinguish. That's actually not the 4th X, but it doesn't matter. There's politics in the game. There's blowing other spaceships up. The races are very asymmetrical. They're very different. From their flagships to special abilities to tech trees, and the expansions just really enhance this. A very enjoyable experience. I don't play it very often because it's very long, but it's still, when I do play it, it's an amazing time. That's Twilight Imperium 3. Number 5 is a great party game, Time's Up. In fact, I just played this a few days ago. Now, I prefer Time's Up Title Recall, but the original Time's Up is fine also, in which you were trying to get people to guess names, and at first you could give them any clue you want, then you can give them one-word clues, then you can only do just pantomiming and making noises, and it's pretty basic, but it is hilarious. It is incredibly humorous to play and watch. Whenever we play it anywhere, there's always a crowd of people come by because it's really that funny, and you find out how much people really don't know. But a wonderful game, Time's Up. Number 4 is Thunderstone. I like deck building games. Dominion is an amazing deck building game. Thunderstone took Dominion and then added some theme to it. And when I first played Thunderstone, I enjoyed it. But then when Thunderstone Advance came out, and then I played the Epic Thunderstone variant that Richard Launius came up with, and I modified a bit, really took Thunderstone to a level that I just love. It feels less like a deck builder and more like a dungeon crawl with lots of different cards. It's just an entertaining time. Thunderstone. And we are now at number 3, Twilight Struggle, the great USSR versus USA game that covers the entire span of the Cold War, starting after World War II and going all the way up to the end, and I would say to the fall of communism, but in this game, communism can win. And both sides, there's so much strategy in this game. It's one of the most strategic games I know, so much back and forth, so much depth, and so much history. I mean, every major event of the Cold War is represented. Things can go different. The Korean War can go differently. You have so many choices in this game, but a very deep, great experience for 2 players. Number 2 is Ticket to Ride in all its incarnations and maps and expansions. I still have a soft spot for the original game, Ticket to Ride USA, but I love all the new ones, the newest maps, UK and Pennsylvania, but I love India and Asia and Africa and the Netherlands and Scandinavia and Europe and Markland, and there's just so many cool different ways to play the game. And even though the game is a decade old at this point, it still is showing that not just for new people. I mean, it's a great game to get new people into gaming, but there's still a lot of depth, and every time I play it, I have a great time, whether it's on the iPad, on the computer, or the board game. Works well with all numbers of players, 2, 3, 4, 5, even 6 with the Asian map. Just, man, Ticket to Ride will always be high up there for me. My number 1, though, is an amazing new game, and there are some games that when I first get them in the mail, I'm like, ooh, I can't wait to play this. There are other games I'm like, I can put this off. There are other games like, when I get to that. But when Time Stories shows up, or in a new module for Time Stories, I want to play it right then, right there. I want to put everything else aside. Time Stories, each module is a 1-play module, although the third one, Prophecies of Dragons, I think it has more replayability than the rest. But still, as I play this game, it gives me an experience that no other game gives me. It's that much fun to play. And I'm just so pumped about the experience. I had such a great time. And I'm still thinking about each experience that I had played Time Stories months after the fact. An amazing game. I can't tell you how excited I am about each new module that comes out. I love, love, love this game. My number 1, Time Stories. And those are my top 10 games that start with the letter T. What are yours? Tell me in the comments below. Tell me what I've missed, because you always will. And tell me what you agree with or disagree with. Tell people what your top 10 games that start with the letter T. Anyway, until next time, I'm Tom Vasel. This has been the AlphaBest series of games on the Dice Tower.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews, as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at Dicetowernetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching the Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.